Hey, this is Shaun with the Atlanta Tennis Podcast, powered by GoTennis. Check out our calendar of Metro Atlanta tennis events at letsgotennis.com. And today we start our series called The Official View with Hall of Fame coach Dave Matthews. Today we are discussing the ignorant spectator or parent. So Dave, where do you want to start today?
Man, I got about 9 slides I can come in from, but we'll start with the simplest one. I guess you want to say I was helping with a tournament a couple of weekends ago, and I see this quite often when I help. You look around, you're trying to make sure that the players are getting a fair playing field. That's for both of them. There are many ways people, not just parents, not just siblings, but people in general can inject themselves into the match, whether they want to admit it or not. They're doing it, and this one just so happened to where, and I kind of see it when I'm watching like the U.S. Open last week. Players, I don't know why you would look at your box in the U.S. Open when you've got electronic line calling, looking at them going, was it in or out? I don't get it. But anyway, I think that's part of the habitual thing that has come along with the junior circuit and the ITF circuit and all that. You ain't got umpires. You ain't got the electronic line calling. So now all of a sudden you get it. It's a different world. And so you have to kind of get used to that, I guess. But anyway, I look over there, and this parent is the court is kind of sitting up off of the terrain around it. It's kind of like, down some hills around it, except for on the side that I'm on. I'm looking across the court, and I see this player, he goes back and, he'll hit a ball, and the other kid will call it out, and his son on the other side, which is where I'm at, is looking over there, and the dad's kind of motioning through the windscreen that it was in or it was out and things like that. And so I, it's kind of meander over there, and I say, sir, it's not really helping the matters out there. If they want some help, it's on a clay surface, so they can ask me to come out and verify whether the ball was in or out. It's leaving a mark. And the father's like, well, I'm just trying to appease him. I said, well, that's kind of coaching. It's kind of, injecting yourself into the match and really not letting your son work and deal with the other person on the other side, which is what a lot of tennis is about, is getting it along with the opponent you're playing. You've got to learn how to read people. You've got to learn how to know how to treat them. Some people are aggressive. You don't want to get them all in a tizzy too quick because they might go ballistic on you, which in that case, you just call the umpire out there. And, at lower levels of Alta, I'm sitting at home, week after that happens, and one of my friends calls me, and her daughter is playing her first Alta match, and she's asking me all these questions about what are they playing? Is it short set, no ad? I said, well, that's with the captains. All you had to do is listen to the captains. They probably said it before they sent the kids to the court, but we're so excited, our ears turn off when they should be turned on. And, I just said, here we are in this status of all this technology, and really, and then they look at, to kind of keep the point headed in the same direction, you want to turn and tell your pro, hey, why are my kids not learning this? And I said, well, in all fairness, you got to understand that if I'm out there and I'm explaining to the kids how to start a match or spin a racket or any of that stuff, a lot of that comes with play. Doesn't have to be all taught, because if I teach a lot of that, parents are going to ask me, hey, my kids here don't know how to hit a ball, not learn how to score and all that. And I go, yeah, but you can't play unless you know how to score. I get it. So, when we send the kids off to go play in their first Alta match, their first T2 match, things like that, us parents need to kind of step out of the way and let them deal with it for a little bit anyway. If it looks like it's too lengthy, okay, go down and help them score. And then remind them call the score before you serve. There are better ways to teach than just taking time in a private lesson or a group lesson to teach that stuff. A lot of it you're not going to learn until you repetitively do it in a match, because that's where it matters. It sinks in deeper. And so, I want to reiterate to all the parents and spectators and siblings and fans of kids in your same academy, it's okay to go cheer, unless you're not, cheering is another thing. It's gotten a little, to me, in my mind, it's gotten out of hand. People are cheering when people hit balls in the net, and you look at them and they say, "Oh, well, I'm just cheering to motivate my player." Well, there's your coaching right there. You're coaching them psychologically to not get down on themselves. Well, that's part of what you're there to learn when you're on the court in the heat of battle. It took me years to learn that I'm playing every point from the start of a tournament to the end of the tournament to win every point that I can. And at the end of the rainbow, when the smoke clears, I get to see if I get whatever points or trophies or a win. And that's how you have to learn to play it. Is it hard? Oh, extremely hard. People don't understand that mentality, but that's the way. Every point that I waste along that 7-match, like the U.S. Open 7-match journey, every point I lose is energy I've wasted that might help me get to the end in better shape, because it's a battle of attrition by the end of that kind of a tournament for the men. And you saw it. You saw it in this tournament. What does Taylor got to do? He's got to go get in better shape to sustain that long, lengthy journey. So people that, I heard somebody one time say that the parent or coach that injects himself in a match literally is taking away from the coach's chance and the kid's chance at this point when they're on the court to actually learn. And you think you're teaching, but you're actually detracting from that learning curve.
Yeah, and there's a time to let your kid go figure something out. I mean, it's not just go out and make yourself into the world. The kids are 7 or 11 or 13, right?
Right.
It isn't go out and make your way. But in this case, it's, come on, you can do this, as opposed to injecting. So one of the things I wanted to mention, you were talking about helping kids learn to score. I wanted to throw in a quick tip for parents. Let your kids watch tennis on television. If you want them to learn scoring and enjoy the game more, normally I wouldn't say watch television, kids. That's not my style. But in this case, the kids can learn scoring by watching tennis. Let them come to your Alta matches, your weekend matches, your league matches, assuming they can handle themselves and they're not being annoying to the other players. But in this case, let them experience it. Let them see it, because their tennis coach only has so many hours that they see them per week. It's probably not enough, by the way. 1 hour a week, by the way, is not enough.
Right.
But in this case, going back to the parent that's helping, that one thing is, I'm just trying to make sure he knows. And what he's probably doing, this parent, is watching the coaches on television go, "Oh, don't worry. Yeah, it was in." Or, no. "Oh, sorry, you just missed it." Whether it was in or out, it doesn't matter. The coach is just trying to settle the player.
Right.
And I think there's a layover a little bit from previously, before we had all the magic and the line calling.
Right.
That now, don't worry about it. Yes, it was out. Whether it was or not doesn't matter. I need you focused on the next point.
Right.
But that's in a situation where you're allowed to coach.
Right.
So the ignorant parent here, ignorance isn't necessarily negligence or incompetence.
Right.
Ignorance is just a lack of information.
You just don't know.
I would assume, from your official point of view, your official view, to be able to come down as an official and say, "Sir, I'm sorry, you're just not allowed to do that. I get your good intention, but you're not allowed to do that. If they need help with a line call, have them let me know." Right. Do you say that a lot to these parents? Like, guys,
sure.
Maybe you don't know. The first time I'm going to assume ignorance. After that, then I might skip to belligerence, which might need to be another conversation.
Yes. And what I have found is that when you go to the level, like level 7s now, national level 7s, which is more the beginner tournament kind of a atmosphere, You go from 7 to 6. It pretty much is run of the mill. They don't know. They just don't know. I think they've been watching World Cup soccer. They've been watching everything else where the crowds are going crazy. And, what people really don't understand is that tennis players do need to hear the ball to understand what's coming. And when you're, not that the crowds are this big at these junior tournaments, but, you get a bunch of people clapping on the court next to them and stuff like that. It can interfere with your ability to hear. Yep. And, especially if a kid's calling the score and there's a weed eater back there or lawnmower.
Yep.
The kids have to learn to speak up and make sure the other player hears the score, because otherwise that is the number one leading thing is they don't call the score because it's not cool. And we get to that middle of that end of that last set, and all of a sudden, don't nobody know the score. And now we're going to have an argument about it. And, that's a whole other thing. But, that's when your voice carrying does matter. Big time. Yeah.
You and I have learned to be loud, probably for other reasons as well. But it makes me think of one of the 8 and under teams I ever managed. And I'll be honest, I personally will probably never do it again until my son's 6. But in this case, the kids came off the court and they were playing a tiebreaker to 7. And they played 2 out of 3 tiebreakers. They came off the court after the first one. I'm like, guys, what was the score? And they're like, 11-2. Wait, you were playing a 7. Oh, yeah, really? I'm like, sweet, you won. Great. Moving on. Like, who cares? If the kid comes off and one won and one lost and they both have smiles on their faces because they had a good time.
And they agreed. Yep.
Move on. We're all good with this, right?
That's right.
But Dave, so what's the moral specifically of this story, of this parent and this ignorant spectator?
Most of the time, you're injecting yourself and stopping the kids from really learning. You're detracting from their ability to work problems out with their opponent. When you've got an official there on the sideline, they've all been told. Most of these tournaments I'm doing now, I walk out on the court with them and say, at the end of my little probably 30-second spiel, if you need any help, call me. And there's usually an official within 3 or 4 courts of wherever you are. You just need to raise your hand a little bit. And, if you raise your hand on the court, I'm sure some innocent spectator will come running like there's a fire and, grab the official that's there to go settle the dispute that probably they caused.
Possibly true.
But yeah, don't inject yourself any way that you can. Let them learn. Let them learn.
Let them learn. Let them play. Yes, sir. Thank you so much. This has been The Official View with Hall of Fame coach Dave Matthews. Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
You betcha. Have a good day.